Yeah, it's a RockerMike and Rob presents show today, and we have the famous heavy metal living legend
Please.
Leather Leone with us today.
Good morning, guys.
Leather, I'm glad you joined us. It's early out in
Yeah.
California right now. We're in New York City, so we really appreciate you
Of
coming
course.
on. And yeah, and you, I tell you, I mean, you were a trailblazer, still are in a lot of ways. And I'd like to just really dive in here and kind of pick your brain and take you back a little bit because, you know, you go back to the early 80s.
Yes, I do. Thank you.
Now, let's well, I do too, so it's not that long ago. But originally you're from Rochester, New
Outside
York,
of
right?
Rochester, Avon, New York.
Oh, okay. But you ended up on the West Coast.
Yes.
How did that
happen? I went to college, which I say very loosely, down in New Paltz, outside of New York City, and I was just bored, and I was just singing in cover bands, dude, and I was just getting high. I was so bored, and I called up a friend. Actually, a friend got in touch with me that I was always into horses, and I used to train horses at this ranch, and a friend of mine moved out to Berkeley. I called her up, and she said, "Hey, come on out and see me." And I came out, Jesus, I think it was the spring of, I don't know, some year, and I just never left. I was probably in a band within.
You moved out to Berkeley.
And back in, I mean, I always knew that I wanted to sing, but I kind of really didn't know what to do or how to do it. So back in those days, as you remember, they used to put things on telephone poles. Remember signs when they were looking for bands and stuff? So I walked by a telephone pole, and there was a chick band that said they were looking for a nail splitter. So a nail spitter, I'm sorry. So I just auditioned, and that was Rude Girl, and then I never left.
Did you have singing experience before that, or
always, what was? But it was kind of in church, and then I did a bunch of cover bands in college. You know, where what do? I sang Joplin and Pat Benatar, and you know, and I remember I tried to sing like AC/DC, but I couldn't.
Wow.
I
yeah.
didn't really know what I was doing, but I kind of said, God, I kind of like this. You know, I couldn't do it, but I liked the idea of trying. So,
what was some of your favorite bands like? Going into this?
I was totally into.
What were you listening to?
You know, I'm from upstate New York, so it was Elton John and Fleetwood Mac and Heart. Somebody turned me into Heart, but I always had Zeppelin. You know, Zeppelin was always on my mind too. Loved Zeppelin, still do.
What about
I didn't
like
get
Black
into
Sabbath?
that stuff till I moved to California. I was a late bloomer. And when I went to audition for this band, that's what they said to me. They said, "Do you know who Bon Scott is?" And I said, "I do." And they said, "Well, try to sing like that." And that's how it happened. And then they turned, what was that, 82, 83? And then they turned me on to Sabbath. And then I heard Dio. And then, you know, Metallica was rehearsing down the street. So, yeah, I was not a metalhead till I moved here.
Wow, that's
amazing. So you really, in a sense, you weren't a metalhead until you were in a metal band.
Yeah.
Wow. That, you know, it's funny that part of your history I wasn't aware of. I wasn't expecting you to say that. Wow. Okay. Now, so this is the early 80s, and you hooked up with Rude Girl with drummer Sandy Sledge, right? Now, it was an all-female metal band. And some of those early gigs, I understand you played with like Exodus, Megadeth.
It was crazy.
What was that like?
Of course, back then everyone was fucked up, you know, myself excluded. Excluded. When I started singing in bands, that was it for me. It was so important for me to be straight, not be fucking stupid the way everybody else was on stage. But everybody was just partying, so it was just a scene. It was just a party. Sure. And, you know, it was a rough time to be an all-female band. To be playing these huge clubs with freaking Megadeth, you know.
Yeah, I mean, they really, you know, when I mentioned earlier about you being a trailblazer, there really weren't that many female bands even with female members in the band. Okay, and so you're in an all-female metal band.
And we were so convicted, dude. I mean, we thought we were priests, you know. We were like, fuck you, get out of here. And we opened up for Exodus a couple of times at this club called Ruthie's Inn in Berkeley. Mother of God, we got spit on, and it was a great way to learn. It was a great training ground. I mean, the Skruck and the Budweiser cans, and oh my! But then everybody would always come up and go, "Oh my God, you're fucking awesome!"
Yeah, I mean, it was like a baptism by fire, right? Just dive right in.
We were supposed to open for Slayer, and I can remember going to the band, "We're gonna get fucking killed." But that never happened.
But you must, you know, you did it, right?
No,
you held on.
But I tell you, it made me better because I looked at all these guys that were being adored for just being sloppy as hell. So that really cemented for me to be professional and sound like the record and stay straight and don't be a slut. And so it was a really good learning ground for me.
So you kind of took that all as a way to be disciplined.
Yeah. I started. Yeah.
I got you. Now that's unique. That's unique in that business because a lot of people go the other way.
Do it, dude. I got to tell you, I don't know how people sing the way we sing and get loaded. It's not that it's not easy for me, but it's something that I always had to work at. And mother of God, I had to be in freaking shape to do that, and I still do. I had to be in shape.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you being the lead vocalist, I guess you had to take extra special care of your voice.
Back then, nobody was doing it. But back then, people were going into the studio and making everything sound great. And that's something else that affected me when I got into Chastain. You'd buy these records of all these great bands, and then you'd go see them, and vocally, they would suck.
Yep.
Yeah, so a lot of production covering the lack of talent. It's still like that today.
That was always my thing. I'm going to sound like the record, and I'm not going to do it. For sure.
Right. No, I mean, I definitely appreciate that, and I remember Chastain very well, but I'm more from like a punk background, so it's similar thing where you're going to come out there and just be yourself. You're not gonna make this overproduced piece of garbage and then come out.
Not if you're Gigi Allen, you would just come out there, sing sweet song, and then you start throwing shit in the crowd. That's a whole different.
There you go. Well, that's just to add on to your lack of talent.
If you don't get hit by a Budweiser bottle or shit, which one's coming first?
You weren't doing your job, yeah.
Exactly. Now, what's interesting is now Rude Girl was making a little bit of noise, and you guys got offered a deal with Columbia. Sandy Pearlman was supposed to produce you guys, I understand, right?
It sounds like this wonderful romantic story, and it really wasn't. That's when I really learned too that our democracy doesn't work. And we were all girls, and it's truly true. Everyone was always fucking emotional, and this girlfriend and that boyfriend, and it used to drive me crazy because they were getting high and I wasn't at the time. So it just used to piss me off. It still does. You go to LA and you have a 4:00 meeting. Everybody fucking shows up at 4:20. Don't waste my time. So what happened was, this big thing was supposed to happen. But I was also getting a little leery of this because Pearlman used to come down to our rehearsals, and we would make these tapes, and nobody would ever say anything about the vocals like they do now. Oh, you're flat. Oh, let's do that. There was never any mention about anything, and it started scaring me. It was going to be like a freaking nostalgia actor. They wanted to dress us up like soldiers, and I knew in the back of my mind that it wasn't going to be for real. It was going to be like a fucking Leather Angel gig, where it was just, come see the girls.
Yeah.
So I was a little leery anyway. And I got to tell you, I had a lot of people in my ear that made me think I was better than all of them. And I went to the lawyer's office. Country Joe Fish was the lawyer. And I went and sat in his office at the designated time with my pen. And it was 45 minutes later, and the fucking band wasn't there. And that was it for me. I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm done. So, and then I walked home and I called Mike Verney. That's what happened. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So I mean, there really was no big time lapse in between. I know you jumped right in with Chastain, but if I could just give a little input here because we're fellow New Yorkers, okay, native New Yorkers. Now, what you're talking about with California and people showing up late and being like lax, that's just California. Okay. Yeah. New York is like, listen, we don't have no time. Don't be 20 minutes late. Show up on time.
You're still, dude. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. And then people get mad at me. Well, I called you at 11:07. Fuck you. That's not 11 o'clock, Matter of fact.
Yeah. All right. So you called up Mike Varney from Shrapnel.
He had been my friend by this point. I became friends with him right away.
Yeah. Right. And he was he kind of the impetus of putting together Chastain or what?
Because,
how'd that happen?
Shredding stuff at that time. And he always wanted us on Shrapnel anyway. He was always trying to woo me over, and I'm like, dude, I got CBS, fuck you, But stupid we are. But no, I just called him up, and I was heartbroken. I mean, I'm sure I was bawling like a little bitch, And he just said, I said, I think I got something for you. Within 3 days, I had a Chastain cassette. Within probably 2 weeks, I was in somebody's bedroom recording on a 4-track. I recorded Black Knight, Mystery of Illusion, Winds of Change. And don't ask me why Chastain back in those days even thought to work with a woman. I have no idea. I've never really discussed it with him. I just probably think maybe the ranges he was writing in. And I was probably doing Mystery of Illusion within 2 months. I mean, I got in right away.
Wow.
Okay, just a little background for maybe some of the listeners who don't know this, but Shrapnel Records was started by Mike Varney, but it was always known as a shredder guitarist label. Okay, a small kind of almost independent label. Okay, in the '80s, and they put out a lot of music just like Chastain, and this is what they were known for. Now, Dave Chastain himself was in a band called CJSS, based out of, I believe, Cincinnati, and he was known as a shredder, so it was a perfect combination to get him on that label. But Varney must have.
Well, yeah, and I think
you,
he's such a prolific songwriter. I think he really, he's just always writing stuff. He just wanted to do something with his own name, and again, I think he just, and you know what, you're making me go back. There was this woman, this great kind of R&B singer around here. God, she was Peter Marino's girlfriend at the time. Her name was Jennifer something, and she had this intense killer voice. And I think that Chastain had heard her, and then he started talking to Barney about, God, rock girl and blah blah blah, and Chastain was like, hey, I got this girl, and it just worked.
Yeah. All right. Well, the debut album for Chastain with you on lead vocals came out in 1985, and it was called Mystery of Illusion. Now, you just mentioned Pete Marino. He was pretty much the producer, right? And Varney got the executive producer.
Him and Steve Fontana.
Kind of title. Right. I mean, I listened to this album last night, and I hadn't heard it. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if I ever heard it in its entirety, but I listened to it last night, and I was just like, wow, this stuff holds up, okay? And, you had songs like Black Knight, When the Battle's Over, the title track, Mystery of Illusion. What was, like, that being your debut album, what'd you feel was the strongest track on that album?
It was Black Knight. I can remember when we recorded that. Marino, and I was but it wasn't even a booth. Prairie Sun is this huge freaking room, and I'm so hyper where I could run around and do whatever I wanted when I was singing. But we were just listening to that going, motherfucker. But there Dive Bomb is re-releasing that. I don't know if they may have already done it, but and of course the production of the '80s, everybody was in the wind tunnel, right? I mean, but it was
with the hat,
sure. And also endlessly. I mean, dude, you have to understand, I didn't know what the fuck I was doing. So I was so bad. I was so green, and I learned this stuff like verbatim, And then I went in, and they all Chastain, Fontana, and Marino decided to change the whole melody. And I was like, fuck you. I mean, I was such an immature child. It was just a nightmare. And again, I wasn't scared, but I was just nervous. But I always knew, especially back then, what was I, 24, 25? I mean, I could sing like a motherfucker. So I didn't really worry about it. But it was intimidating for me to be in the studio and for people sitting there and saying, do this and then do this, and no, do this and then do it again. And then it was a little freaky.
Now, one thing about Chastain that's great is you were prolifically putting out albums almost every year. 85, 86, 87, 88. And I'm sure you were
the
touring
good old days.
in between all that, right? Yeah. Now, okay. So, what was it like touring with Chastain? Was it different than, say, Rude Girl?
Oh God, yeah. We call him the General. Still, Chastain is by the rule book, dude. Like I said, I don't think democracy's working. I'm actually going through that now. Chastain set the rules, set the tone. We were not fucking around. We were on time. We were doing our job. It was a business. It was like the freaking military. But of course, we had a blast. Oh my God, I was freaking hanging out with Jeff Tate and Metallica and Skid Row. I mean, it was awesome. I was never playing those arenas, but we would always play the clubs down the street and then go hang out at the arena. So it was great. The response was great. And I'm looking at all those old videos now that Chastain found on beta, and somebody put them out. It was great. I mean, it was the time of my life, and back then it was easy. It was, it was very easy. But again, what?
Now I'm going to ask you about you mentioned the club.
Yep.
Okay, you mentioned that you played the club, so I'm going to bring up a club here. Tell me if you have any memories of it, good or bad, and that's L'Amour's in Brooklyn.
God. All my college friends would come down there because I was such a loser in college, and they couldn't believe that I was, singing in front of this fucking shredder. I mean, L'Amour's was fun. Come on, anything in New York is fun. Always crowded, always packed. That was a big club, wasn't it? Like 1,000 people, 900. Yeah, always.
Yeah, about 1,000. Yeah,
and and the guys were hot. Great. Love L'Amour's. Chastain and I still talk about L'Amour's because it was one of our favorite places to play, and I think we went back there every year. They were always really good to us.
Yeah. I seen Motorhead there a couple of times. I seen the Ramones there. Yeah. There used to be another. There was another L'Amour's. Yeah. There was another L'Amour's actually in Queens where I live called L'Amour's East for a little while.
I don't know.
That was.
Yeah, I think I did.
You might have. Yeah, if it was the early '80s, mid '80s, you probably
touring,
did.
I think in '86. So.
Yeah. So. Yeah. Now, '86. I was just going to mention the Ruler of the Wasteland album. Okay. With that one, you brought on Ken Mary on drums. Okay. The original drummer you had, Fred Curry, actually went on to bigger things.
I remember those days. He was like, I got this call from Cinderella. We were like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
Wow.
So he joined Cinderella, which, what are you going to do, right? So, whose idea was it to bring in Ken Mary? What was the connection there?
Again, it was a small, it still is a small musical family.
Yeah.
But back then it was really small, and Mike Barney knew it.
Well, he was in a band called Fifth Angel.
Mike Barney knows everybody.
Really?
He knew everybody back then. It was like, what do you need? A background singer?
That's all right.
He knew everybody. So I'm sure it was just a hookup through Mike Barney.
Okay. The second album, Rule of the Wasteland, came out in '86. Now, you already had an album under your belt.
No, we hadn't toured.
With the band under your belt. Was it a little bit easier?
Revolution, I think we just...
No?
Shit, no, I think we might have done a couple showcases, but no, we didn't really tour till the 7th, dude, because I remember Chastain talked to me about touring after Ruler, and I was like, well, I have a boyfriend. So yeah, we did not go out, and it was really bad on my part because KNAC here in LA was playing the hell out of Ruler of the Wasteland, but I think we only did a couple sound like I said, showcases. We didn't tour till the 7th.
Well, the Seventh of Never, which came out in '87, that's your third album with Chastain. Now, that's the one that I became aware of your band pretty much because there was you probably remember the station WSOU out of New Jersey. Yeah. That was the metal station that we all listened to. And, they would play a lot of this kind of emerging thrash stuff. You guys were, kind of in the middle of that. They would play Seventh of Never, the title track all the time. I mean, that's how I became aware of you. But that was already your third album, so you really didn't start a big tour until that one.
I think it was just put together like to be a project, and for Chastain to just masturbate and get his songs out there, and he was so busy. I mean, CJSS was busy, so I mean, it's kind of a fog for me. But we were just talking about that because when they put out Mystery Evolution, I didn't remember a lot of this shit, so I was talking to him about it. But yeah, and like I said, I wouldn't go out for Ruler, and then 7th came out, and again, I know 7th of Never was getting played everywhere, and it's like, holy God, listen to this chick, blah. And it got picked up by a lot of people on the thrash side. So, yeah, that was the beginning. That was the beginning of it all.
And one thing that had changed too is that you actually moved over to Leviathan Records, which was Chastain's label.
He wanted to own everything, of course.
Now, that was an amicable split with Varney, or was it,
you talked to Mike Varney about that, but I'm sure it was, and he still owns the first 2 records. We can't do shit with him, so yeah, I'm sure. Again, I don't know. I was never involved in the business, but everybody continued to talk for years, so probably.
Yeah. Okay, and then it continued on with the Voice of the Cult in 1988. That was also on Leviathan. Now, what I noticed with that, and I'm gonna just maybe you got a little story with this. When you look at some of the credits writing credits on the first
Yeah.
3 albums. It's pretty much Chastain. Okay. But what I noticed with this one is there was 2 tracks off that one called Share Yourself With Me and a track called Soldiers of the Flame that you're actually credited for the lyrics. Now, did you not write the lyrics on anything prior to that?
I remember
or
presenting
not
them
too much?
something. I think Soldiers of the Flame I tried to get on Mystery of Illusion because it's just so funny, you guys. I just got a flashback of like stuffing my face with like SpaghettiOs when we woke up because we stayed up at the recording studio, and Mike Varney coming up to me and going, Leather, we decided that Soldiers of the Flame isn't good enough to make a cut. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. But then I don't remember really ever doing it again. And then I don't remember how it came about, but I remember handing Chastain little pieces of paper with lyrics on it. And he just started working with them for me. So it just happened on that record.
Yeah. But it wasn't in a case of like
no.
Because sometimes bands, I mean, sometimes even bands change the way they do their credits,
happens. And I'll do a track or 2 on Chastain records, but you know what?
Yeah.
Chastain is Chastain. People like it because of his Armageddon, crazy lyrics that he writes. I mean, it's Chastain, and I was always fine with that, especially not being a prolific songwriter. I'm a singer, dude, and I was always a singer, and I was fine with it. Yeah, I was absolutely fine with it.
But one thing that was always interesting with your albums with Chastain was the album covers. Did you really hate them? I kind of like them. Yeah.
Oh my God, come on! Mystery of Illusion is actually a cool cover, but what the fuck with the girl in the boobs? What is she, the fucking naked queen in the swamp? And anybody you know that I'm so anti fucking sexual bullshit. That's what I say on Instagram all day. Keep your fucking clothes on, girl. What are you doing? But anyway, I'm not sure what the bitch with the blonde hair was doing. Ruler of the Wasteland, what is he? Saving Armageddon with the bird?
Yeah.
Never and there were so many different
Seventh
covers
of Never
of
is
good.
good.
There was a French cover with a bug. I mean, Voice of the Cult. What is that? The Mothership? I hate
them. Yeah, it is like the Mothership. Whatever the hell that is.
I hate them.
But it's like a timely kind of thing. You look at what other bands were doing with the same album covers.
We went into the record vault and you were like, "Oh my God, look at this cover!" Absolutely. For those who dare, it was Just Us. So of course, Shockwaves. Oh my God, I don't know who decided to.
For Who's Dares was not bad.
I'm sorry.
That cover was not bad for Those Who Dare. I thought that was okay.
I thought that was a good cover. Was okay. It was like, oh really? It's actually going to be us, but no. And I apologize. I don't know who did those covers, but that was Chastain's thing.
God, I guess you didn't have a final say in that, Leather, huh?
Then I was just like, okay. And you know what? He probably asked me because Chastain has never been like that. We've always had a real special musical bond where he always respects my opinion, even though he might use his. So he probably asked me, and I was just like, yeah, cool. I don't know. I just wanted to tour.
Yeah. Now, Voice of the Cult would be the last album with Ken Mary because once again, a drummer goes on to some bigger and better things, and he hooked up with Alice Cooper on the Raise Your Fist and Yell tour. Yeah. No, a lot of bands do in one way or another. Sometimes it's they die, right? Thank God that didn't happen to you guys.
Get a big gig,
yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Shockwaves album because that was like a Leather Leone solo album, right?
Chastain wrote most of the stuff. These are pieces of music, literally, that that were on cassettes in his closet. That I would pick them out and say, "Hey, will you finish this?" I did write probably 98% of the melodies, and I wrote all the lyrics. So I guess it was, but I mean, musically, it was just another Chastain record, But I do like it. I still like that record a lot. Yeah, and then the production.
Yeah, it holds up.
Definitely
holds
up. Like, can we produce it like I'm not in a fucking tunnel? And
who did Dave
Jesus,
produce that for you?
Did, right? Yeah. We did that in guitar. He was there.
Yeah, I think so. I don't.
Yeah, I guess it was just him and I in the studio. Yeah, but again, that fucking record pisses me off. The only reason Road Racer, now Roadrunner, did that, they were just trying to woo him in to get to do For Those Who Dare. That's all that was about. They didn't do shit with it. It was bullshit. That whole thing was bullshit. It surprises me how well the record does now because they didn't do anything with it.
Wow. But, you know, hey, look, sometimes it takes a while for something to kick in.
Do kind of some like sexual bullshit. Like, remember, what was the magazine that had lady killers? Was that Cream or no Kerrang? Remember that? And they would have the, you know, like Lorraine Lewis was there sucking on the sucker and all that stupid fucking shit. And I can remember they flew me out to New York. They wanted me to do one of those. And I'm like, great, but I'm gonna keep my clothes on. And they had me on a bed with like I had a t-shirt on, and they wanted me to take off my bra, and then they were like fanning this piece of pink material, and I was like, fuck you. So that's why they didn't do anything with it either. I mean, it was so sexual back then. I mean, everything in the world. I mean, I had labels that told me that they wouldn't sign me because no one wanted to fuck me. I think it was Elektra back in the day. They said, you are such a good singer.
Oh,
people guys walk in and go, holy shit, look at her. But then they don't want to fuck you. So I'm like, are you kidding me? So it was just saying. And
who decided? I mean, they decided that. Who decided that, right?
Whenever,
I mean, come on.
That came up, I attributed to not a very nice person. So that probably had a lot to do with my career. Yeah, really.
Well, it's pretty insulting, really. I don't blame you, really.
Who cares?
You know,
who can sing? You know.
Yeah, I mean, and you were doing. I mean, they should have looked at it like, you know, this is a commodity right here. This is a woman who could hold her own with the best of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it was different times, right? Different times, you know. Okay, so one thing too is, and I had to really jog my memory with this, is I know you guys did some videos, but I don't recall you guys getting much play on MTV. There was a station out of New York called U68 back when we had UHF stations and all that stuff, and they had a metal like hour or night. I think it was an hour or two on Friday nights, if I remember right, and they would play you guys, and they would play underground stuff that MTV wouldn't touch. But that was just a regional thing. I mean, you didn't really get much MTV play, right?
But that, you know, what was that on every Saturday? No.
Yeah, but not. I don't recall you being in heavy rotation.
Ricky used to introduce me. It was like the look on his face. Chastain featuring Leather Leone. I mean, it was such a drag for them.
Well, he's the guy who didn't want to fuck you, guaranteed.
You know what else we were on?
Okay. You know what I'm saying?
Reel that old club was playing in heavy metal clubs. I don't know if that's, but you know, we were always in that reel that was on the big screen before the shows. But no, we never got a lot of push.
Yeah,
we just never did, and I'm not, you know.
Now, you think that was because of the reasons you just mentioned?
I also got to tell you, Chastain was always really guarded. I know there were a couple things that he made decisions on that used to really piss me off because I just wanted to get big and better and get on a stadium tour, an arena tour. And he kind of didn't, you know, he wasn't really that into it. He hated touring. He just wanted to make music. And him being the general, I think a lot of his decisions had a lot to do with it too. I know he was always talking to major labels, but he was never satisfied with it. So I really think it was, you know, we just weren't one of those hungry bands going, yeah, come on. And, you know, they would just pass on us, and there were 20 of us sitting around the corner, you know. So I don't think he was very into it.
Yeah, but it sounds like you're, you know, between you and Chastain that you know, integrity seemed to be a big thing. You know, that you weren't going to sell out and be the sex pot lead singer, okay, or you know, just to get on MTV. So that, you know, I got to hand that to you, especially at that time. When, you know, that might have been what would have pushed you over, but then you would have.
You're also making me think. I have a really quick funny story. Well, every December we would get a royalty check from Sharpnel, and it was a big deal because I knew Mike and his wife Kathy. I still love them. I would drive up to his freaking mansion in Katati, and we would hang out. And he would give me these checks. So one day, you know, it was a few $1,000s, and I was like, "Oh my god!" And he used to say to me, you're going to put another BMW in my garage. He goes, you should be making so much money. You're so talented, blah, blah, blah. And I said, dude, I don't care anything about money. I just want to be famous. So he said, so I talk to him a lot now, and he goes, how does it feel? And I'm like, yeah, I think I'll do it, dude. And then,
wow. Now, going back to the last album that you did with Chastain, which is For Those Who Dare, that came out in 1990. You did a cover of Barracuda by Heart. Really? But you were a Heart fan, so you probably had no problem, right?
Just because it was a simple song. Everybody knew it. Yeah, they made us do a cover.
They demanded a cover?
We would never. I still don't do covers. Oh my God. And for a girl to do it, and I don't know if they said do a Heart cover. I'm not sure where that came from, but I know nobody wanted to do it. We just did it literally. You can tell the way I sang it that I was actually pissed off. I just wanted to destroy it. So I think we went into this. We did it in like 10 minutes.
Well, I have to just give my 2 cents with this is I am not a Heart fan too much. Okay. I like a few things, but
really
that song I always liked, but you do it better than the original. And there's very few people that can do songs better than the original, and you did.
That's why I don't do covers. People are like, oh, do Dio. Why would I do Dio? My God. You know, I'm with you. If you can't do it better, leave it alone. Yeah, you can't do it better,
a lot of times you can't do a song justice.
A lot, but I don't like. I think they left it off the reissue, right?
Exactly.
It's not on the reissue. Just ain't that. I'm like,
I think I did read that. Yeah. Okay, so during that time, after that album came out, you kind of went on a tour. I think it was a world tour, right?
Yeah.
No, just the U.S. Did you ever tour overseas?
It was a nightmare. And no, Chastain would never go overseas. Yep.
Oh, that was his choice.
Nope.
Okay.
You know what? Not even Japan, you guys probably would have been huge in Japan and those places if you were to go, because they loved that America. Yeah.
I don't.
Why didn't he want to go?
Dude, he never wanted to tour. It was he just did it for I don't know, but he never liked it. And it's funny now that I'm out on my own doing this all again. Now I understand, because he's like, you don't understand. He sent me a list. He goes, you get the hotels, because we never had management really. He did it all, set up the shows, got the deposit, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, if you don't have somebody to help you, it sucks. And now I get it. He goes, I couldn't even play properly because I was busy all day long doing all the shit. He said he only did it to get chicks. And he did. Let me tell you. He had something.
Well, I'm sure it worked.
Yeah, he actually said, I hope he doesn't hear this. He said that to me not too long ago. He goes, if I could still get the chicks, I would go out again. I'm like, of course you could. Let's go. But no, he wants to be at home. He never wanted to tour. Yeah.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of mind blowing given the scene that he was in, you know? Yeah. Okay. Now, here's an interesting part of your story here, because after 1991, you pretty much fall off the map.
That's what I told you about the labels.
And
that's when I started meeting.
What happened?
You know, the Chastain thing, I don't even remember that we talked about it, but it was totally amicable. Look, after For Those Who Dare, and again, not that nobody pushed it. I'm sure they did, but you know, I don't know. I don't know if there was a next step that he wouldn't take, or it wasn't available. You know, there was obviously some rumor about a Megadeth tour that we could have had, and Doro ended up getting it. And the frustration was just insane for me. And we were just going to take a break. To my knowledge, we were just going to take a break because we'd been going, 4 or 5 years. And I went home, and I was going to give myself 6 months. And if Chastain and I didn't do anything else, I was going to move along. So that's when I had meetings. That's the story I told you. I think it was Elektra. I went and met with, there were labels at that time, and nobody was interested in leather as I was. I mean, it was really humbling. I thought in my mind I was so much bigger and so much more in demand than I was. And, the couple offers that I got, it was just this compromising bullshit. So I just went away. I'm not, like I said, I wasn't going to do it. I didn't need to be famous. I didn't need to be on MTV. And it's like, I was so proud of what I had done. And I knew I'd already made an impression in the metal world. So I just went home. I came home and got into animals and started, going to therapy. No, I'm joking. But I just stepped
Well, yeah,
stepped
we've
away
all
from
been
it.
there. Yep. Wow. Okay. And that, also at that time, you're
Yeah,
talking the early '90s, the
yeah.
industry was changing. You had grunge kind of being the whole thing. Uh, did you like, over the last 20
Uh,
years that you were out of the business in a sense, were you
well,
listening to
I
any
loved the whole
bands
grunge
out
thing,
at the
but I got to
time,
tell
or
you,
what were
freaking
you, what
Jeremy came out with. I loved how they all
you did?
pouted, right, and you couldn't stand their fame. No, I really liked it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't. I stopped going to shows and stuff. I mean, I was, yeah, it was, now that I think about it, it was really pretty crazy, but I had to close the door to totally not deal with it, not, and I actually had gotten a call from Vixen, um, because I knew Roxy. I was doing demos for
Hmm.
them for a period of time. And I can remember saying to my boyfriend at the time, "Wow, what am I doing?
Right.
Like, would I ever want to front Vixen?" And I'm like, "Oh my God, the tours, everything." And but then again, they had the same issue with me that I didn't look good enough,
Yeah.
and I can remember Mike Varney sticking up for me, and he was like, "Leather could look just as good as them if she did everything they did. If he was rude, if they got hair extensions, if she went to a plastic, I mean, he went the whole thing, But I stepped out of it for sure. I got into I got into animals. I threw myself into the pit bull scene, and I just let it go.
Wow. Wow. But you decided to come back. And in 2011, you got back with, I guess, a
Yeah,
reunion
well,
with drummer
that
Sandy
was
Sledge, and you started
unfortunately
playing again.
due to the loss of Ronnie. I was mind blown by that. I hadn't seen him in years or been in touch with him, and I didn't even really know he was sick. And I found that out, and I like the
Yeah.
rest. Yeah, I went down there to.
You're talking about Ronnie
Yeah,
James
yeah,
Dio?
and I mean, the
Yeah.
whole
Okay. Just so
world
everybody
stopped, and
understands.
I went down to his
Yeah.
funeral and such, and I can remember um, thinking the conversations that I had had with him. And one of the last conversations I had with him, I was sharing frustration with him and about breaking big and stuff. And he just looked at me and he goes, "Just don't stop. He goes, you are so good. Don't ever stop." So I remember him saying that. And I just started feeling like a little bitch. God had given me this talent or whoever, and I wasn't doing anything with it. And so, yeah, Sandy and I went to the funeral together, and we hooked up with Keith Marks, who was the Styx promoter guy, and he knew. Anyway, it just kind of fell together. But I sang in many, many years, and I had been drinking a lot of wine. So I started going in and out of studios again, just recording stuff. And boy, would I destroy those recordings, let me tell you.
Well, some of that stuff
Well,
ended up
after I
being
got to a
the
certain
Imagine
point
Me
level
Alive
where I
record.
felt I could sing again, then we started doing that. We got in touch with, of course, Scott Warren and Jimmy Bain, which, oh my God, I was like, I couldn't even speak. Being in the same room with them, we would go rehearse where they used to rehearse
Right.
with Ronnie. But anyway, yeah, Imagine Me Alive came out of that, which was my step back into it. And it's kind of a weird. I was listening to that the other day. It's pretty weird and mixed terrible and stuff, but I like some of the stuff.
Now, coming back after 20 years, okay, I mean, that had to be kind of like a culture shock, mind blowing experience. But did you notice that metal fans are loyal, and you still probably had
Yeah,
some of the
it
original
was
fans
actually
that come out and
very
see
mind
you, right?
blowing, because I've never done good in LA ever. Chastain was just never accepted there. But when we played shows, yeah, it
Mm-hmm.
was very mind blowing. The loyalty, and of course it was mostly women, but yeah, it was overwhelming. Well, that's why I kept going. That's why things started happening from them, because again, you learn
Yeah.
from Ronnie. Oh my God, these people were there for me. It's like, Jesus, at least I could sing for them. So that started the ball rolling for me.
Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed over the years with since the beginning of social media, is there's so many, like on Facebook and other sites, like so
Yeah.
many groups
Yeah.
dedicated to '80s metal. All right, and it's something that whether it's the
Or
big stuff like
Poison. I
Iron
mean,
Maiden
it's everywhere. Yeah,
or
yeah, yeah, yeah,
even you
yeah.
guys. Yeah, like the hair metal stuff is still huge in some quarters,
No.
and it's just like doesn't go away. And I think it's even it's funny, just to kind of like give my opinion here for a second, is music now, I think, you listen to it, the stuff that's popular, and it's, you know, whether people using auto-tune and everything is overproduced, nobody really sings, okay? And then you listen to something like you, okay, someone like you in Chastain, and you're like, wow, this person's just belting it out. Can anybody even do that today? And it's like, you know, people are longing for this. And then now we've been in this pandemic all year. All the clubs are closing, and the tragedy of that.
Sick,
but when we come out on the other side, which will happen, I think it's going to be like, there's going to be a resurgence of live music. You know, someone's going to do that. It has to happen.
South America. Those people are insane. They dress like the 80s, talk like the 80s. It's 80s. They don't even know what year it is. They are so into it. It's a time warp. I love it. I love going down there. All the chicks have the blonde streak like me, and they're wearing the bullet belts and the tiger spandex. I mean, it's killer.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know something. You kind of missed the boat a little bit when you got out of the business the early years in the 90s, because that's when that really started. All right, in the 90s, bands that couldn't make it, they'd be playing, you know, CBGB's or Irving Plaza in New York City, and they would go down to South America, Brazil or Argentina, and play 50,000 seat soccer stadiums. You know, the Ramones were one band that did that, and that's how they made all their
so
money
hungry
in the last
down
few
there.
years.
They're so hungry down there. It's insane.
Oh yeah, by playing South America. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right, so now you know you like Ronnie James Dio told you, you know, you kept going, okay, and when you came back, you had that "Imagine Me Alive" album, and then Chastain reformed in 2013.
And when it came,
how'd that happen?
Since "Imagine Me Alive" was done, you know, by ourselves. I was always talking to him about business and blah, 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 blah. So, I mean, he's always been there for me. I've always been a press whore. That's a joke we have. I love doing music. I just want to be out there. So he does anything to help me. So I think when he saw Imagine Me Alive come out and he saw that I was singing again, he started saying to me in 2013, because I'm thinking about him, because I always say, hey, do I have permission? Because he owns everything. Do I have permission to go out and tour and do these songs? And he goes to me, he calls me Miss Leather. You know, he's from Georgia. Miss Leather, you can go out and do all the touring you want, honey. I'll just sit home and sell the music. You go sing. You go sing. So that in 2013, he said,
that's very funny.
That's funny.
I have stuff for a Chastain record. What do you think? And I said, let's do demos. If it's we've got to do it as good as before Chastain, and we can't do it. You know, we have a reputation. So that's how that came about. Surrender to No One, which I really don't like that record. I think the vocals are really bad on that record. But it was a Chastain record with a great cover. So, I mean, it never hurts me, you know, to work with David.
Well, look, you know, it was an intermediate period for you. You know, you were just getting back.
Oh,
so,
God,
I mean, I think the fans, I'm sure the fans were happy to hear you
again. I thought a lot of
so,
songwriting. I didn't like it at all. But I love the cover. That's actually that was actually my cover choice.
But then you would come.
Sorry, I don't remember
go ahead.
who did it, but I saw that and I'm like, that's the one. That's the one. The big monster and the little person.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, now that
then the next was We Bleed Metal 2 years later.
Oh man! And let me tell you, he presented
great
that
title
song
too.
to me. Hated it, and I still kind of don't like it. I'm like, dude, this is so first grade, simple, freaking 1982, freaking, and so he kept it off the record, so he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, he was mixing that record, and I was there with him. So we were doing all this, and like I like vocals, especially after the 80s. Oh my God, I wanted them raw. I wanted people to hear, well, like Leather too, which is really raw. It's like I want people to hear things that aren't. Although I don't do autotune, but it's like I want to hear when I've had a bad day. I want to hear when my voice fluctuates. I want to hear when I spit. Those are the kind of records I like, you know. But anyway, I was kind of part of that. He kicked ass on that. He goes, you know what, Leather, I think I'm just going to mix this. He used to send it to some guy in Germany. I said, just do it yourself. And he did a killer job. So anyway, we record it and I come home. And he says to me, well, we need more time. He goes, maybe I said, why don't you do a guitar piece like the 80s? He goes, yeah, maybe I'll do something. Well, within 2 weeks, he's calling me up and going, you need to go and do a studio, Miss Leather, and do We Bleed Metal. back then you could go into studios. So literally after work one day, you know, I'm a vet tech, I told you. So fucking pissed, dude. I didn't want to do that motherfucking song. So I went up to my friends and I just sang it 5 times, fucking pissed off. And that's what it turned into. It turned out pretty cool, didn't it? Did not want to
definitely
do that
great.
song.
Yeah, great record. Definitely, you know.
Whoa, Leather
yeah.
Leather
Now
2.
tell us about Leather
Again,
2. That came out in 2018.
With Chastain in 2014 about going to Brazil. He didn't want to go anywhere, so he passed this person on to me. I ended up going down there because they do down there a lot where they hire bands and they have singers that go down, you know, like Blaze does it and Rob Rock. And so, you know, you get a band, you go down there.
Right.
And I started going down there with this little 3-piece band doing Chastain sets. And it just kind of grew. I did one in 14, and then I did one in 15. And then in 2016, this person was doing the Rob Rock tour. He said, hey, you want to come down and open for Rob Rock? I'm like, fuck yeah. So I went down there, and it was Braulio, Drummond, and Vinny Tex, and Damon Ross, and Thiago Velasquez. It took me years to be able to say their names. But anyway, that was the Rob Rock band, and I used all of them too, except for Vinny Tex, the other guitar player. So, I mean, with Rob Rock, the shows were good. I mean, the clubs were cool, 800 to 1,200 people everywhere. I mean, they love him there. So I was watching this band every night, just really digging it. I mean, you know, they're all young and long-haired, and dude, they just want to play. They just want to play music. They have no jaded bullshit like from this country. So anyway, I started talking and saying, you know, this is my band. I think this is a band I've been looking for since I was 21. So we just all kind of started talking, and I was honest with him. I said, look, you know, Chastain does most of the writing. I'm not a really big writer, but let's try, you know. So I got home, and basically Vinny Tex, the other guitar player, and we just started writing, and Leather 2 came out of it. And now I have another one basically written with him. So Leather 2, it was such a great moment for me because, mother of God, I had written a record with somebody. I'd done something without Chastain, you know, so it was really great. I got a lot of buzz. It was on...
what label was that on?
Dive Bomb and Rubicon, and I mean different ones all over the world. I just licensed it out, and I must tell you, I had some good offers. And again, the team, the gentleman that I had at the time representing me, ended up not really being for the good of me. But I was negotiating with some larger labels. But I know that they wanted to wait to put it out, and at the time we didn't want to do it, and again in hindsight I should have done it, but whatever. So two was great. 2 really did a lot for me. I did a South American tour. I went to Europe with it. It was great. I was really proud of that record. Again, I'm sure there's many vocalists like me. I can't listen to most of my records. It's funny, I can still listen to We Bleed Metal, but most records, after I do them, I can't listen to them. I don't like them. I should have done it differently. I could have done it, but yeah. And Leather 2 now is beginning to
a lot of people
be like
say
that to me because, again, it was done way too fast. I wanted the vocals really, really dry. They were a little too dry in some places. Yeah, but I love it. I'm so proud of it.
How do you feel about the change in the music business in the last 20 years with the internet and the way that everybody just kind of throws things out there?
On one hand, you know, yay for everyone. They can express themselves and stuff. But I got to tell you, I liked it better back in the day when you kind of had to prove yourself. I can remember thinking that in the 80s. But, you know, we were out doing it. I was out singing in clubs every night. I was really making records on 2-inch tape. I mean, but again, as I can talk to you, I'm making records with people, a gentleman that lives in Portugal. I mean, it's great in that aspect, but I think you get lost in the sauce really easy. It's harder to stand out. I don't really think talent really isn't the key. Maybe actually talent probably never really was the key. It was the whole package. It was money, right place, right time, looks. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I think talent was something, okay, and I think like with a lot of bands, especially in that genre that you were in, it was similar to like you had to go out there and earn your bones by playing live, and a lot of bands, whether they want to play metal or you know whatever, they don't want to go out there and earn their bones by playing live all over the place.
I remember my dad let me go to my first show.
That's a shame.
I remember how old I was. It was a Blue Oyster Cult show. And I walked into that freaking arena and heard that bass drum. That was it. I think I was in 9th grade. That was it. I had to do that. And then, of course, you know, being from Rochester, I would go get backstage at Foghat shows, at REO Speedwagon shows, at the Rochester Memorial. And I would just be like hanging out with the wives going, I was in high school going, oh my God, right. I have to do this. And the wives were going, no, you don't want to do this. I'm like, yeah, I went, and I'd be on the tour bus going, oh my God. Yeah, the bug bit me really early. So I don't understand why people don't want to do that. I mean, it's hard work, but you got to work at something, you know? Yeah, it's hard work.
Well, that's, you just answered the question. It's hard work. All right. And a lot of people don't want to put in that work, but they also want to be famous by the time they're 30. So it's kind of like, I don't know. You can't have it both ways.
That have millions and millions of followers, and they put out a little song on YouTube showing their boobs. I'm going, wow. So, you know. Yeah.
But it's the dumbing down. It's not that that's really talent. It's that the bar is so low.
You know, Instagram goes down or someone buys it out or something, and all these girls are going to wake up and go, "I'm not a model." And
yeah,
I'm not, you know, my opinion doesn't matter, and I'm not dogging anybody, but
no, and you never was.
Well, Ronnie Dio used to say that to me. The U.S. became the land of American Idol. Not saying that those people haven't worked their asses off, but let me tell you, once they become American Idol, they know what it's like. I mean, you have to work your ass off.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you know, you got something coming out. A new album now. Yes, I understood it to be a working title of "We Are the Chosen." Is it still that?
We are the chosen. We are the
Talk
chosen.
about it. Talk about it.
Well, my guitar player Vinny that I'm working with really, he doesn't write lyrics, but he definitely has an idea of what he wants to hear. And I think I saw that somewhere one day or something, or I heard it on a movie or something. And we kind of have an attitude going into this record because we feel that we were played a little bit by the team that we had at the time, and we're getting dogged a lot by as we all do. But so "We Are the Chosen" was it just something that we started writing, and it came together. Since it's the name of the record, it actually reminded me of early Chastain. We're making it kind of really epic with, you know, a bunch of keyboard pads, and it just really fit. And then I did a photo shoot for the cover, which, by the way, Marcelo Vasquez did my cover. He's the Slayer Machine Head guy. I mean, the cover is just sick.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just going to be a really good song.
Yeah.
I just thought it was really strong, and it just worked out well. We do.
Are you set for a 2021 release for that record?
I record in Poland, so we're waiting till we can get over there. Yeah. And again, stories. Vinny Tex, my guitar player, co-writer, was in this death metal band like everybody was when they were in their 20s. They were called Unearthly, and they were to record at Hertz Studios in Poland. Well, who records there? Behemoth, Vader, Hate, all these freaking sick bands. Well, when we did Leather 2, the first wave of the vocals, we decided we needed to do them again. So we were out on the road. We were close to Poland. So we call up the Hertz brothers, Slavic and Warchek, I think. I'm probably saying their names wrong. I'm sorry, guys. I love you. I know it's Slavic. And he goes, yeah, come on. He wanted to do something more melodic. And oh my God. So we presented him too. He did every song except one. We did the vocals over again, which again, you know, you talk about working your ass off for somebody my age who doesn't tour anymore. You know, I'm doing shows every night, and then I went there. I had 5 days. I had to do a song every day. But they were just incredible. What they did and the way they made me feel. I hadn't been in a real recording studios, in 127 years. I mean, it just happened. And they were looking at me going, God, we should have done this record from the beginning. So anyway, I'm going to go back to Hertz Studios as soon as, hopefully spring, I don't know what's going to happen with COVID and stuff. But I have 8 songs written, so I'll probably do 3 or 4 more.
Yeah, everything is on hold. Okay, that's great. Now, is there any chance of some U.S. dates? Is there any desire to do that?
I talk to people every day because I agree with you. I think when this COVID thing is up, the floodgates are going to blow, and I have to find a way to be part of that. I hooked up with a promoter over in Italy, and she's working on Italy and, blowing back through Germany again. I'm trying, but I've never really done well here. I had a US tour that was booked with Grim Reaper with the Leather 2 album that ended up, again, because of the representation, ended up falling through. But I would love to. Dude, I'm looking at my passport. I'm ready to go. I just need to get some new sneakers. I'm ready to go. I could live on the road. I could live.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you definitely are a road hound. That's for sure.
Thank you.
All right. So we're going to be looking forward to this
It'll
album.
be out
We Are the
2021,
Chosen
yeah.
coming out, hopefully 2021. Okay. And please, have Mike contact us, or you can contact me. Let me know when it's coming out. I'll start plugging it a little bit. Okay. All right. And we just found out like 2 weeks ago that we're like big in Sweden.
Yeah.
Really?
So like number 62 in podcasts. Out of the top, I don't know how it happened, but it just did. So let us know. We'll get the word out.
Accents. I miss the skateboard guy hanging out with Muncie. I can't even understand him anymore. I love New York. 33rd and 3rd. I mean, I was there in 14. I played at Doro's. I don't know what anniversary it was, or 30th. I don't know, but I just miss it. I miss New York so much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you come back here, okay, get in touch, and
cool.
Rob's a bartender.
I really appreciate the time.
And we will hook you up.
Anything else?
We will hook you up.
No.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming on, and keep in touch, and
great.
Best of luck. Stay safe,
and
so we're gonna hear from you soon, hopefully.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Bye.
All right. Bye.
Not bad. Pretty good.
Rob,
she was good.
Not
she was
bad,
real
man.
Good.
Not bad.
She's had some great stories too.
Yeah, definitely.
So let me hang up, and I'll call you back in a few. Okay, bye.
Okay.